they can, insert all those ads, like, maybe related to their banking products, insurance products, whatever. Like. And similarly, think about Nike, Reebok, anybody can do that. So these are all the branded widgets. So yes, when it comes to advertising, we see that there will be traction on the branded side. Like. So how does the future outlook look like when it comes to the value-added services? Yes, if we are looking from the time point of view and the convergence point of view, as I said, the convergence is already happening. It's not that it's not happening. And so what we have seen today, mostly the ringtones, wallpapers, games, information services, all these music downloads. Yes, the market will be there. I'm not saying it will not be there, but with the advent of new technologies, which will, like some of these disruptive technologies, which will be coming in the market, whether it's Wi-Fi, WiMAX, or 3G, or HSPA, or LTE, whatever you name, like, because these are totally giving you a different option for the operators to, sort of like provide the services. So we'll be moving slowly from this era of, the basic ringtones towards something where we see that more of, search, email, maps, navigation, music, commerce, games, advertising, collaboration, and communities. The key here is, collaboration and communities, because this is where you see that, we are more coming towards the mobile Web 2.0. And how do we mobilize your Web 2.0? Of course, you have the technologies already. I said, like, widgets is one of those things. Like. So more of these communities, more of these collaboratives, like more of these social networks will be coming into the market. Of course, you can build services when you have the community, when you have these all these people willing to participate in this community. You can think about services, because it's very easy to position services when you are having a good base. So mobile does matter to developers because of all these reasons. I'm coming back to the actual topic. Why does it matter to the developers? Because we have seen the trends, how is it going? But now as a developer, as an entrepreneur, what is it in for you? Like, yes, we have seen that things are changing. Now, what I always believe in is, like, always look at this telecommunication ecosystem. There are many stakeholders. I mean, you have these infrastructure vendors who is busy developing all these 3GPP standard things or GSM standard, trying to deploy these things in the operator environment. And then we have the standardization bodies defining the specs at C or whatever. Then we have these network operators. Basically, they are the one who are thinking of how do I deliver the service, okay, to the network. And then you have content providers who is busy getting all the content that can be pushed to the operator channel. And of course, device manufacturers. The key here always, which is been missing in most of the ecosystem, is the developers. And that's where the real innovation comes from. I don't think the operators or the mobile vendors or the mobile infrastructure vendors have the time to sit and innovate about new applications. I think we should leave this to the third party. This is where the real meaning of the third party developers comes in. So that really shows that yes, the market is evolving towards the third party model. And we have seen these stories probably last decade, everybody saying that operators should open up these networks to the third party so that they can use their interfaces to provide the services. Because operator obviously cannot provide services that fits to the needs of every user segment. Because the market is very diversified. It's not humanly possible for them. Even if they do it, there will not be too sure. Because some of the services have a very short life cycle. And if they're investing a lot of money and providing this service, and what happens if it doesn't work, they have to ramp it down and think about a new service. The easy way is to leverage on the third-party developer community. So there will be a lot of innovation coming from these third-party developers. And we already see from Nokia that a lot of times we find innovation more coming from these entrepreneurs. Because they know exactly sometimes, okay, this is what is my target segment. This is what I'm looking as a problem. So I can come out with a solution for that. So focusing on end user needs is essential to turn the ecosystem into success. But having also said that, the key thing, I'm going back to the end users now because I covered the developers. Because end of the day, it's not the operator, it's not the vendors, it's not even the developers, it's the end user who are going to decide whether the service is working or not. So whatever we build, we have to really keep the end user in mind. That's very critical. So, in India, if I have to say that what are the unique market segments in India, of course these could be relevant to most of the other countries as well. So we need to see these some of these segments when we are building services. So this is something, a lot of innovation is required here. So there's a lot of innovation is required, and these guys are, most of the users in these segments are carrying devices. So how do we leverage on these? So transportation, microfinance, we already touched upon that in the morning sessions. Yes, how to reach the unreached? How do we provide all these banking facilities to some of the rural sectors? So microfinance, like the loans, and a lot of government comes out with a lot of schemes and all that stuff. So how do we educate the rural population on these things? Like, so how do we monitor the entitlements? A lot of things like you can think about. And then infotainment, entertainment also. I mean, again, think about how to deliver these things. When somebody is not having a GPRS. Sorry, if they're having a GPRS also, it's still not good enough. Like, maybe have to have a 3G to have a better experience. And then governance, financial, healthcare. Of course, agro is also one sector that you need to look at. Like, but again, see, these are different segments. But I would always, say that it's not about just looking at one discrete service. Maybe someone is building a service only fits to the health sector. But why not you integrate other segments as well? So you provide an integrated service, so that there are there's a loop that the user can complete, rather than just say that there's a health information, let's say providing information of the clinics or doctors or first aid, and that's it, it ends. Instead of that, you think about what the user is going to do, what would be the next action. Probably it goes to maybe transportation, want to book something else like a car. So you have to think from that perspective. So if you can create these linkages from one service to the other, then there will be a definite stickiness factor will come into consideration. Because we should see that how the user is using the service, how long we can keep the user on that service. So that's very critical, for the consumption of the services. And again, also that it just looking at one market segment is not good enough, because there are also, you have to look from the user point of view, but there are different age groups, and everybody do not like the same type of service. We're not going to provide an application that says that, okay, this is the killer application, that's it. So you need to look at all these different players, different users who have multiple roles, profiles, and identities, and who are expect a different sort of an experience. So the trend is going towards micro segmentations, no doubt about that. Like some of the services for the age group of 15 to 25, there are very specific services, 25 to 35, business users, enterprise based, working moms, or maybe female, uneducated. So you can add a lot actually there. So the thing is, when you think about a service, think about your market segment, think about the end user. Then if you can marry these two, then think about the problem they are facing. It's very easy to come out with a solution. I know sometimes it may be little challenging, because sometimes for every of these segments I talked about, market segment, it involves a different ecosystem. Because if I'm building a service for healthcare, it is a different ecosystem, because there are a lot of other stakeholders involved in that. If I'm building for a service for agriculture, so it's a different ecosystem, because I have to talk to somebody else. So it presents a unique challenge again here. But if you can overcome that, that's where the real innovation is about. It's not about just conceptualizing something and just coming out with a prototype. So as I said, yes, we have to take this into consideration and build more like a user-centric model. They see how these users are going to make use of these services. So because the user is the one that is going to evaluate the services. To me, the user is the customer always. Because if I'm not putting myself in the user shoes, I will not deliver a service.